Hey everybody, back at you again with another card. I'm going to be coloring Hawkman today. Give me just a second to share this over with the page so everybody can join in, and we are good to go. Here, good and good. Cool deal. All right. I'm going to be using a little bit of a mixture today. I'm working with some Artist Loft watercolor pens. Hey Jason, how's it going, man? Um, Trying these things out, some watercolors that I have from, like I said, Artist Loft. They're just the dual tips, and checking stuff out with them. Doing a lot more work with them lately, so I thought I would test them out. Uh, they're not quite as forgiving as the Copics are, but that's to be expected. But yeah, they've been working really well. Here, especially with this card setup got going on behind the scenes, which I can't, unfortunately, contractually, I can't say anything as about the release yet until they're approved. So you guys bear with me on that. But yeah, they are definitely worth the effort if you want to put in the time to use them and get to know them and work with them and whatnot. And you rotate your tips. Every few strokes here, I spin the tip on the pen just so it doesn't break down the fibers of the tip, because they will wear out on you like really quick. That is one downside. And you have to store them like potatoes. You have to you have to store these pins like potatoes because they will dry out if you don't keep them in a dark, cool place when you put them up. If you leave them out on a table for a long period of time, they will get air exposure, and they are temperature sensitive. They will dry out on you in a heartbeat. Um, I'm not big on that, but they're affordable enough to replace. You know, they're fairly easy to replace, but I will tell you flat out, if they dry out on you and you're in a pinch, especially like on a weekend where you can't go to the store, you know, like just after hours where most of the craft stores close, especially Hobby Lobby or, you know, Michael's, where they carry these, they will dry up and disappear on you, and you will be stuck through the weekend with no paints. So be sure to baby them in that regard. Also, don't scrub down hard on these because, like I said, the tips will wear out on you in a heartbeat. I've had multiple art friends tell me flat out, you know, that they hate them because of the fact that the wear and tear on them is like non-forgiving whatsoever. Uh, I personally haven't worn them out, but I'm more gentle on my tips too, though. And yes, I do pride myself on that because I take very good care of my supplies like that, because I've been without before. You know, I've had stuff wear out on me before, and you know, going to Walmart to use rose art or something of that nature to fill in the rest of a project is a real bummer, and the quality control is not there at all. So you face the dreaded deadline. I can't speak today. Dreaded deadline. There we go. And getting ripped by an editor if you can't finish the job. So be aware of that because you will pay dearly for it. So, yeah, just keep that in mind because you will pay. So, I hear one of my neighbor kids, he got new speakers for Christmas, so he's decided to drive the neighbors crazy. He's moving his truck. His dad will run out there and tell him to shut it off in a second. I find that very amusing. But anyway, let's see here. I'm going in with a secondary yellow to pop this out before I go in with the orange afterward, which I don't want to do too much of, but I just like the look of it working through. And like I said, these colors aren't very forgiving, so you have to be kind of quick. I picked up a little bit of graphite there. The orange will wash that out, but like I said, these aren't very forgiving. I see where I did it right there. I didn't erase that well enough. But that's okay. I can fix that. I might have done some there on that sheet too, but that's okay. These being sketch cards, I can go in and do that later and fix it. But I'm going to go into these shoulder straps really quick because these are solid for the purpose of that. Try not to go over my inks too much because these things will pick up your ink as well. And if, like I said, if there's any loose graphite in there, it'll pick them right up. And that's okay because these are sketch cards, you know, but I still want to keep it as professional as possible and not messing up my line work too much, because the shading will cover it where it's at. But yeah, hey Rich, I can see you, man. I had to stop to look up at the board, but yeah, I can see you. Thanks for popping on, man. I appreciate it. I just wanted to give that a second to dry before I go back in here. And like I said, I'm going to do this kind of a 70s style. I wanted to do it like that, like the old Justice League cartoons, which had that bright contrasting orange in it rather than a true gold. Because like I said, I just wanted to toy with these textures and colors a little bit, which a lot of people won't risk, but frankly, I don't mind. I like it. So I like taking risks like that. So, but yeah. I don't mind it at all. A lot of people are like, you're screwing it up. Stop it. You're putting orange in there. And it's just, nah. Nah. It's okay. If you don't like it, that's not the card to put in for. You know, when the sketchbook comes out and these go as rewards for it, if you don't like that one, that's okay. You know what I mean? Just don't get that one. But I like the contrast in the armor because it's supposed to also be alien. You know, in design, it's supposed to be alien by the armor and contrast that he has going on. So why not? You know, why not make it a little different? Not everything you see here on Earth, because of the alien metals that his helmet and stuff is made of. Because Hawkman's not from Earth. You know, he is from a future timeline, but they are also from a future. They are also from another planet, as well as the future. He and Hawkgirl. So you got to consider that, and it gives you leeway to play with this stuff without freaking out. You know, because everybody's like, that doesn't match up. Well, how do you know it doesn't match up on his planet? You know, it's like Todd McFarlane used to say about Violator when people used to pick on him about it. You know, that guy's not right. Well, where have you seen this guy to compare? You know, have you actually seen Violator running around? Have you actually seen any of that stuff going on? Think about that. So, yeah, thanks, man. It's very cool to have you on. I appreciate it. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah, I like to mix these colors up because, like I said, you know, these contrasts, people just are so afraid of colors looking like, boom, separate colors instead of looking like, you know, the best possible hue and whatnot. And I don't go for that crap. I like to be bright and bold with this stuff and make it pop out. Like I'm going in with this really bright red right here for the chest piece. And the funny thing is, this is a really bright off red. And what I'll do is I'll go in and use the secondary and shade it down, and it'll make it pop out. However, I'm going to go a little different with his eyes being yellow in the chest plate normally. I'm going to go orange. Just kind of contrast that a little. But anyway, I popped on without warning today. That's why nobody's here. Cracks me up. But I appreciate it. I see a couple of people popping in and out, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. There we go. Now we got that going on. Now here comes the cool part, because I'm gonna flesh shade this guy properly. He's gonna have all the tones here in place. And a lot of people have a habit of making him look like he uses a bronzer, you know, or like a tanner, because they make him like really, really buff and tan. And I know that's cool to look at and whatnot, but it looks really weird in most cases, you know? Because the Hawkman, I remember, had a really almost, for lack of a better term, almost a jaundice type of thing going on with the yellow, you know? The Golden Age, which is my favorite one, he had the yellow skin rather than a flesh tone. And it was just a pale, you know, offset color they tried to make with the paint that they mixed at the time, and then they had to use it because that's what they had. But because for those that don't know, the older guys used to paint, the old school guys used to paint with whatever colors they had. You know, they would fill in and mix and customize, and that's the reason they weren't really all the same color every time you saw them. You know, they were always different colors, or maybe sometimes a book would have a different colored outfit for no reason other than the fact that they wanted to change the color because they ran out of the paint and they were trying to wait for it to come in. And that happened a lot. They were waiting for a paint order, which busted me up because some of those old guys would talk about that, and it's just like, well, yeah, man, it's what we had at the time. I remember that book, and it's just like, really? And if you do that today, it's considered unprofessional, you know? If you don't have supplies to do the book properly, then you have to wait for them, or, you know, don't do the book yet. And that always surprises me because people freak out about that stuff, and I was just like, man, you talk to those guys that were doing this 30 years ago, and I get just 30 years, just back in the 70s, you know, the 80s, and, you know, into the older 70s, the later 70s, and up into the early 80s, man. I mean, they were still doing that same technique back then. And we had Prismacolors back at that point in the mid 80s. And I just think it's hilarious to see how these guys freak out, you know, these modern guys freak out about it. And, you know, you'll get the guys squawking and stuff, just, I can't draw because I don't have, you know, a particular color of this or a particular color of that. And I'm just like, well, use another color. Use another color. I mean, if you don't have the one you need for what you need, you don't have the one you need for getting the job done, and that's cool. And I'm sorry you feel that way, but you know, that's your thing. But for me, I'm just going to get the job done. I mean, it's too easy to get a hold of other colors or to get the job done with digital if you get in a pickle, you know. And I actually prefer hand coloring rather than going in and doing a bunch of this stuff digitally, but I can and do both if need be. So And like I said, just like I said, he always looks like he's coated in a bronzer, so that's the reason um, I'm doing it this dark. Because when it dries, all of that will blend together really well. Because this is much lighter than it looks right now, because it's wet, but it will dry a lot lighter. A lot lighter. But I like it to look, reminiscent of what you see in the books, because not everybody likes the Golden Age version, where he's really light and pale. I'm okay with that too. Whatever works. So just kind of coating this on here to make it match up with the rest of it. And I'm not going completely out to the edge. I want to leave it a little open so we can get that going. Mr. Jim made it. Thank you for showing up, buddy. I appreciate that. Stopping by on the weekend. And now we're going to go into the very cool stuff. I'm just trying to check the card right there to make sure that I don't need to erase that, because I do not want a bunch of graphite smudging everything. Yeah, it's out of there now. When I do the wings here in just a sec. Now I'm going in with a neutral 0 for this one too, because I don't want to jack these wings up, because a lot of people like to put them that smoky gray color, and I don't. I just think that's overworked, and it doesn't look organic or like feathers to me. When you go that dark, it's just too heavy. I mean, it makes his wings look gray instead of white like they're supposed to be, and it just bothers the heck out of me for some reason. And I mean, maybe I'm just being too picky about it. I don't know. But I'm going in and dotting each one of these individually, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but you got to do the work to make it look right. So, and the reason I go backwards instead of going down thin like this is Copics have a problem with bleeding sometimes, and this one, my grays have a lot of that going on, where you can't, fine tip it and swoosh out. I just start from the fine point and pull back and go broad stroke and put a little more pressure as I pull up, and then it does the same effect without choking it or without bleeding all over my card. I've had that happen. And it's not just one of these, it's all of my grays that tend to do this. I don't know why they do that. It's just something they do particularly, and I do not want to have to mess with that. And now I'm going to go in with a warm 2, which is going to give it that flesh tone, which I can go this way with that, with these warm colors, because they don't run all over the place like those grays do. However, if I get going too fast paced, sometimes I'll do it anyway, and then I'll be like, dang, because it'll spread out at the end with those grays, those neutrals. My neutrals and my cold colors, my cool grays, both do that in this set, and I don't know why. It's just the way they came in, and fortunately, I've been blessed to get all 4 cases, so I have pretty much everything, and I keep them regularly stocked. But it's a little pricey, and I don't like to talk about that too much because I don't want to sound like a jerk by talking too much about pricing of what I'm able to buy and what I'm not. But anyway, I bought them a while back as a full set, and there's 4 cases of those suckers. And I am not kidding. I have them all. Let's see here. I'm trying to decide what background I want to go with on this. Thinking just to make it different, I think I'm going to go with a purple. Purple. And then I'll color in his eyes here. But I want to do this first. Kind of make this pop out. So very cool stuff, man. I love doing these things. Um, I love doing these sketch cards and stuff, and it keeps me on edge for my daily wind up for, you know, my comics and stuff during the day that I'm doing, and then I get to finish up with these cards, and it's always cool to get to hang with you guys and do these. And 2018 is going to bring a lot more because I've got the actual comics coming out that go monthly from Firestorm finally, and I have those 2 web comics coming up, which I have to say I did some adjustments on the site this week for you guys so that we can start getting previews of that between now and the 15th. You'll see a timer go up if you go to over to firestormcomics.com. You are going to see a very cool timer page come up on that one, just to give a little bit of a pull, because I'm going to launch that on the 15th. I also over at bradlinder.com, if you check that out, I've got another one coming up, which is going to be phenomenal, because I'm going to grab another toner here because I do want to go a little darker on these wings, but I just don't want to smoke them out. But anyway, I've got a timer going up there tomorrow, and then we're going to open all this stuff between now and the 15th. So you guys are going to have to watch those timers to make sure where we're at and what's going on, because it's going to be like gangbusters. It's just going to be instantly there, and everybody's going to be like, what the, you know, and yeah, you'll either know about it or you won't. And with this one webcomic coming up that I've been talking about, it's going to be pretty heavy, man. And I mean, these things are free. You don't have to buy them or anything right now. My webcomics are going to be free for at least the foreseeable future, to build them up and let everybody know that they're there, and they're going to be part of my my business free line. So you'll get to see those every week and move on. But my monthly books, of course, are going to be digital, be online, and print on demand as well. So you guys will be able to get your hands on those. Now I got to go over here to my reference. I don't normally do this, but I've forgotten what color Hawkman's eyes are. They vary. Normally they're white. Yeah, they're white. And in this one, they're blue. Great. Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll do it like this. Like that. And then I'll take this dark blue here. I know they're supposed to be kind of watery blue, you know, a crystal blue, but right there in the center, I'm going to darken them up just a little because I want them to stand out. And then right around the outer edges, we'll put in a little gray, kind of make them pop a little bit. I like doing it this way because then when it dries, it'll look like they're actual eyeballs moving around in there. Very cool. Yep. Now I want to take this purple and go back over here and there. Kind of darken that up a little. Just to kind of make it pop a little more. And then, I think I'm going to go a little bit darker on the flesh tone. Oh, I don't want to go that dark. Let's see how that does. I think I want to go a little bit richer on the middle here, because I don't like him that tan, but everything that shows him really dark, and I figured, what the heck, you know, since we're going that route, let's go ahead and go all in. Because I don't like him super dark, because then he looks funny. But in this case, I think I'm just going to go that route, because it'll contrast the armament really, really heavily, and I like that. Especially if it's going that animated type of cartoony look. Normally I don't like to do this on the fly, but whatever. It's just comics. And also, this being an experimental piece, I get to play around with it a lot more. So, shade up underneath that lip a little bit. There we go. Cool deal. Whatever. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a little bit on this one, and we'll go from there. So, I hope you dig it. And as always, you guys be sure and be nice to somebody. Say hello, give a hug, leave the world a better place than when you found it. And I will check you guys out tomorrow with another one. Take care.